To Samuel, "Until when do you mourn for Saul? I treat him with contempt, or to not reign over Israel. Fill your horn with oil, and come. I shall send you to Jesse unto Bethlehem, for I have seen one among his sons to me for a king." And Samuel said, "How should I go? For Saul shall hear and shall kill me." The Lord said, "Take in your hand a heifer of the oxen, and you shall say, I come to sacrifice to the Lord. You shall call Jesse and his sons to the sacrifice, and I shall make known to you what you shall do. You shall anoint to me whoever I should tell to you." Samuel did all as much as the Lord said, and he came unto Bethlehem, and startled the elders of the city, meeting him. And they said, "Is your entrance for peace?" He said, "Peace I come to sacrifice to the Lord. Sanctify yourselves, and recline with me today for the sacrifice." And he sanctified Jesse and his sons, and he called them to the sacrifice. It came to pass in their entering, that he beheld Eliab, and said, "None other than his anointed is before the Lord." The Lord said to Samuel, "You should not look upon his appearance, nor unto the manner of his greatness, for I treat him with contempt. For not as a man shall look, shall God see. For man shall not see on the surface, but God shall see into the heart." Jesse said, "Abinadab." He went by the face of Samuel, and he said, "Nor this one the Lord chose." Jesse caused to pass by Shemnah, and he said, "Nor in this one the Lord chose." Jesse caused to pass by his 7 sons before Samuel. And Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord chose not among these." Samuel said to Jesse, "Have the boys ceased?" And Jesse said, "There yet is the lesser. Behold, he tends among the flock." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Send and take him, for in no way shall we lie down to eat until he comes here." And he sent and brought him. He was ruddy with beauty of the eyes, and good to the sight. The Lord said to Samuel, "Rise up and anoint him, for this is it." And Samuel took the horn of oil. He anointed him in the midst of his brothers, and the Spirit of the Lord sprang up upon David from that day and forward. Samuel rose up and went forth unto Ramah. The Spirit of the Lord left from Saul, and a ferocious spirit from the Lord smothered him. The servants of Saul said to him, "Behold, a ferocious spirit from the Lord smothers you. Let speak indeed, O Lord, your servants before you. Let them seek for our Lord, and a man knowing to strum with a lute. It will be, when the ferocious spirit be unto you by God, that he should strum with its lute, and it will be good to you." Saul said to his servants, "Look indeed for me for a man rightly skilled for strumming, and bring him to me." And answering one of the servant lads, and said, "Behold, I have seen the son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, and he knows to strum. The man is discerning, and a warrior, and wise in word. The man is good to the sight, and the Lord is with him." And Saul sent messengers to Jesse, saying, "Send out to me David your son, the one among your flock." Jesse took an ass, put it upon a homer of bread loaves, and a leather bag of wine, and 1 kid of the goats, and sent them by the hand of David his son to Saul. David entered to Saul, and stood before him, and loved him exceedingly, and he became to him the one lifting his weapons. Saul sent to Jesse, saying, "Let David stand indeed before me, for he found favor in my eyes." And it came to pass, in the being a ferocious spirit from God upon Saul, that David took the lute and strummed with his hand, and Saul was refreshed, and it was good to him, and the ferocious spirit abstained from him. The Philistines gathered together their camps for war, and they gathered together at Shoshach of Judah, and they camped in between Shoshah and between Azekah and Ephes-dammim. And Saul and the men of Israel gathered together, and they camped in the valley of the terebinth tree, these and these, and they deployed for war right opposite the Philistines. The Philistines stood upon the mountain here on that side, and Israel stood upon the mountain here on this side, and the canyon was between them. There came forth a mighty man from out of the battle array of the Philistines. Goliath was the name to him, from Gath. His height was 4 cubits and a span, and a bronze helmet was upon his head. He put on a chestplate of chainwork, and the weight of his chestplate was 5,000 shekels of brass and iron. His leg coverings were of brass upon his legs, and a shield of brass in between his shoulders. The shaft of his spear was as the weaver's beam of one weaving, and his lance was 600 shekels of iron. And the one lifting his weapons went before him. He stood and yelled out to the battle array of Israel, and said to them, "Why are you come forth to deploy for battle right opposite us? Am not I a Philistine, and you are Hebrews of Saul? Choose for yourselves a man, and let him come down to me. If he should be able to battle against me, and strike me, then we will be to you for servants. But if I shall overpower him, and shall strike him, then you will be to us for servants, and you shall serve us." And the Philistines said, "Behold, I berate the battle array of Israel today, and give to me a man, and we will both fight 1-on-1. Saul heard, and all Israel, these sayings of the Philistines, and they were startled, and feared exceedingly. David was a son of an Ephrathite man. This one was from Bethlehem, Judah, and the name to him was Jesse. To him were 8 sons. And the man was old in days of Saul, arriving in the year. And the 3 elder sons of Jesse, went after Saul into the war. The name of his sons of the ones having gone unto the war was Eliab his firstborn, the second Abinadab, and the third Shammah. And David himself was the younger, and the 3 the elder went after Saul. And David departed and returned from Saul to tend the sheep of his father in Bethlehem. The Philistines came forward, rising early and arriving late, and set up before Israel 40 days. Jesse said to David his son, Take indeed to your brothers the ephah of this toasted grain, and these 10 bread loaves. Run into the camp to your brothers, and these 10 cheeses of the milk you shall bring to the commander of 1,000. You shall visit your brothers concerning their peace, and all as much as they need you shall know. Saul and they, and every man of Israel in the valley of the oak were warring within the Philistines. And David rose early in the morning. He left the sheep for guard, and he took the things, and departed as commanded to him by Jesse. And there came unto the battle line, and the army, the one going forth unto the battle array. And they shouted for the war, and Israel deployed, and the Philistines deployed at the opposite of the battle array. David relieved his items from himself unto the hand of the provisions officer, and he ran to the battle array. He came and asked his brothers the things for peace. And with his speaking with them, behold, a man in the middle ascended. The man given to him was Goliath the Philistine from Gath, from the battle array of the Philistines. And he spoke according to these words, and David heard. Every man of Israel, and their seeing the man, feared greatly, and fled from his face. And a man from Israel said, Did you see the man, the one ascending? He ascended so as to parade Israel, and it will be a man whoever should strike him. The king shall enrich him in great riches, and he will give his daughter to him. And the house of his father he will make free in Israel. David said to the men, the one standing with him, saying, What shall be done to the man whoever should strike that Philistine, and should remove scorn from Israel? But who is this uncircumcised Philistine who berates the battle array of the living God? The people said to him according to this word, saying, Thus it shall be done to the man whoever should strike him. And Eliab his older brother heard in his speaking to the men. Eliab became angry with rage with David, and said, Why is this you came down, and for why did you leave those small sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride and the evil of your heart, that because of seeing the war you came down. David said, What did I do now? Is it not a word? He turned from him unto another rank, and he said thus, They answered to him accordingly to the word formerly, and they heard the words of David, which he spoke, and they were announced before Saul. David said to Saul, Let not the heart of my master be downcast over him. Your servant will go and do battle with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, In no way shall you be able to go against the Philistine to battle against him, for you are just a boy, and he's a man of war from his youth. David said to Saul, Your servant was tending for his father among the flock, and whenever the lion came and the bear, and it took a sheep from out of the herd, then I went forth after him, and struck him, pulled it out of his mouth, and if he rose up against me, I held his throat, struck him, and I put him to death. Your servant beat the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be as one of these who berates the battle array of the living God. And David said, The Lord who rescued me from out of the hand of the lion and from out of the hand of the bear, he will rescue me from out of the hand of this uncircumcised Philistine. And Saul said to David, Go, and may the Lord be with you. And Saul clothed David with his uniform, and put a brass helmet upon his head, and clothed him with a chestplate. David tied on his sword upon himself. David tired walking in the proceeding with them, for he was inexperienced. And David said to Saul, In no way shall I be able to go in these, for I have not tested them. And they removed them from him. He took his rod in his hand, chose for himself 5 smooth stones from out of the rushing stream, and he put them in the canteen of the shepherd, the one being his for a collection. And his sling was in his hand. He went forward to the man, the Philistine. The Philistine went, going and approaching to David. The man, the one carrying the oblong shield, was before him, and the Philistines looked. Goliath beheld David, and treated him with contempt, for he was but a boy, and he was ruddy with beauty of eyes. The Philistines said to David, Am I as a dog that you come with a rod and stones? And the Philistines cursed David by his gods. The Philistines said to David, Come here to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of heaven and the wild beasts of the earth. David said to the Philistines, You come to me with a broadsword, and with a spear, and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord God of hosts, the God of the battle array of Israel, whom you berate today. The Lord shall shut you up today by my hand, and I will kill you. I will remove your head from you, and I will give your carcass and the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines in this day to the birds of the heavens, and the wild beasts of the earth. And all the earth shall know that God is in Israel, and all this assembly shall know that it is not by the broadsword and the spear that God delivers. For the war is of the Lord, and the Lord shall deliver you into our hands. The Philistine rose up, went and approached to meet David. David hastened and came forth even himself for the battle array for meeting the Philistine. David stretched out his hand into the canteen, took from there one stone, and slung it, and it struck the Philistine in his forehead. The stone penetrated unto his forehead, and he fell upon his face upon the ground. David powered over the Philistine with the sling and with the stone in that day. He struck the Philistine, and he killed him, and a broadsword was not in the hand of David. David ran, stood over him, took his broadsword, pulled it out of its sheath, and put him to death, and he removed his head. The Philistines beheld that their mighty one had died, and they fled. The men of Israel and Judah rose up and shouted, pursued after the Philistines unto the entrance of Gath, and unto the gate of Ekron. And the slain of the Philistines fell in the way of the gates, and unto Gath, and unto Ekron. The men of Israel turning aside, going after the Philistines, they plundered their camps. And David took the head of the Philistine, brought it into Jerusalem, and his weapons he put in his tent. And as Saul saw David going forth meeting the Philistine, he said to Abner, the ruler of the force, Whose son is this young man, Abner? Abner responded and said, Your soul shall live, O my lord king, I do not know. And the king said, You ask whose son this young man is? And as David returned, having struck the Philistine, Abner received him, brought him in before Saul, and the head of the Philistine was in his hand. Saul said to him, Whose son are you, young man? And David said, I am a son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem. And it came to pass, as he finished speaking to Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was bound together to the soul of David. Jonathan loved him according to his own soul, and Saul received him in that day, and he did not allow him to return to the house of his father. Jonathan and David ordained a covenant, for he loved him according to his soul. And Jonathan took off the outer garment, the one upon him, and he gave it to David, and his uniform unto his broadsword, and the bow and his belt. David went forth perceiving in all whatever Saul sent him. Saul placed him over the men of war, and he pleased in the eyes of all the people, and also even in the eyes of the manservants of Saul. It came to pass in his entering, when David returned to strike in the Philistines, that the women came forth joining in a dance and singing, to meet Saul the king from out of all the cities of Israel, with tambourines and with joyfulness and with cymbals. The women took the lead playing, and said, Saul struck his thousands, David his 10,000s. Saul was provoked to anger, and the thing appeared as an exceeding sorry state before Saul concerning this word. He said, They gave to David the 10,000s, and to me they gave the thousands. Where is there to him besides the kingdom? And Saul was suspecting David from that day and beyond. It came to pass after the next day, that a ferocious spirit from God fell upon Saul. He prophesied in the midst of his house. And David strummed with his hand as according to each day, and the wooden spear was in the hand of Saul. Saul lifted the wooden spear, and said, I will strike into David and into the wall. David turned aside from his presence twice, and Saul feared from the face of David, for the Lord was with him, and he left from Saul. Saul removed him from himself, and placed him to himself as a commander of 1,000. He went forth and entered before the people, and David was perceiving in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Saul beheld as he perceived exceedingly, and he was cautious of his person. All Israel and Judah loved David, for he entered and went forth before the face of the people. Saul said to David, Behold my daughter, the elder Merab, I will give her to you for a wife. Only be come to me for a son of power, and wage war of the battles of the Lord. Saul said, Let not my hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be on him. David said to Saul, Who am I, and what is the life of the kin of my father in Israel, that I shall be an in-law of the king? And it came to pass in the time of the giving Merab, daughter of Saul, to David, that he gave her to Adriel the Maholathite for a wife. And Michal, the daughter of Saul, loved David. It was reported to Saul, and the thing was pleasing in his eyes. Saul said, I will give her to him, and she shall be to him for an obstacle, and the hands of the Philistines shall be upon him. Saul said to David a second time, You shall ally to me by marriage today. Saul gave charge to his servants, saying, You speak in private to David, saying, Behold, the king's want is towards you, and all his servants love you. Thus you be allied by marriage to the king. And the servants of Saul spoke into the ears of David these things. And David said, Is it the light thing in your eyes to be allied by marriage to the king? And am I a humble man and not esteemed? And the servants of Saul reported to him according to these words which David spoke. And Saul said, Thus shall you say to David, The king does not want a dowry, but only 100 foreskins of the Philistines to avenge against the enemies of the king. Saul devised to put David into the hands of the Philistines. The servants of Saul told to David these things, and the word was straitened in the eyes of David to be allied by marriage to the king, and the days were not fulfilled. David rose up, went himself and his men, and struck among the Philistines 200 men. And he brought their foreskins and fulfilled them to the king. He becomes allied by marriage to the king, and Saul gives to him Michal his daughter for a wife. Saul beheld and knew that the Lord was with David, and Michal his daughter and all Israel loved him. Saul proceeded to fear from before David still, and Saul became hating David all the days. The rulers of the Philistines came forth, and it came to pass from their fit expedition that David perceived above all the servants of Saul, and his name was greatly esteemed. Poor going in his simplicity, the one crooked of his lips, and is unthinking. Even a soul without higher knowledge is not good, and the one hastening with the feet sins. For the folly of a man lays waste his ways, and he blames God in his heart. Riches add many friends, but the poor one is forsaken even by the friend that exists. A lying witness shall not be unpunished, and the one accusing unjustly shall not escape. Many attend to the persons of a king, but every evil man becomes scorn to men. Every one who detests a poor brother will also be far from friendship. Good insight approaches to the ones perceiving it, and an intelligent man will find it. The many doing evil work a work of evil, and the one who aggravates by words shall not be delivered. The one acquiring intelligence loves himself, and the one guarding intelligence shall find good. A lying witness shall not be unpunished, and whoever shall kindle evil shall perish by it. Luxury is not advantageous to a fool, nor is it seemly if a servant should begin to be empowered by insult. A merciful man is lenient, and his boasting comes upon lawbreakers. The intimidation of a king is likened to a lion's gnashing, but is dew upon the grass, so is his making one happy. A foolish son is shame to a father, and vows paid out from the hire of a mistress are not pure. A house and substance is portioned by fathers to children, but by the Lord a wife is accorded to a man. Dread holds down an effeminate man, and the soul of the idle hungers. The one who keeps the commandment gives heed to his own soul, but the one disdaining his own ways shall perish. The one showing mercy on the poor lends to God, and according to his gift he shall make recompense to him. Correct your son, for thus he will be confident, but do not lift up the soul to insult. An evil man shall be penalized much, and if there should be injury, he shall add even his life. Hear, O son, the instruction of your father, that you should become wise unto your last days. Many devices are in the heart of a man, but the counsel of the Lord abides into the eon. Charity is a fruit to a man, but better a poor just man than a rich liar. Fear of the Lord is life to a man, but the one without fear shall lodge in places where knowledge is not overseen. The man hiding his unjust hands in his unfolded arm, not even will he in any way bring them to his mouth. A fool being whipped of his mischievousness will be more clever, but if you should reprove an intelligent man, he shall comprehend for good sense. The one dishonoring his father and thrusting away his mother, he will be disgraced and reviled. A son ceasing to guard the instruction of a father shall meditate upon evil sayings. The one guaranteeing a loan of a foolish child insults the ordinance, and the mouth of the impious shall swallow down judgments. The whips are prepared for the unrestrained, and punishments in like manner for fools.
13:12-16. And so after he had washed their feet, and had taken his garments, and was set down again, he said unto them, Know ye what I have done to you? Ye call me Master and Lord, and ye say, Well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example, that ye should do as I have done to you. For verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is no greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. For 3 years, Jesus traveled across Israel, preaching and performing miracles. But this public ministry was only part of his plan. He invested the bulk of his time and attention into a core group of 12 men who had chose to be his disciples. He taught them, set an example for them, answered their questions, and showed them the Old Testament scriptures connected to his purpose, not just for his own life, but for theirs as well. Yet despite a perfect example and the constant direction and teaching out of the Lord, the disciples often lost focus on what was truly important. They often looked not for God's purpose, but for how being followers of Jesus could lead to their own promotion. Even the day before the crucifixion in the upper room, the disciples were arguing about position and what they expected to be an earthly kingdom. There was also a strife among them, which of them should be accounted the greatest. In the midst of their dispute, Jesus rose from supper, laid aside his garments, took a towel, washed his disciples' feet, and through this humble act, he gave them both an example of selfless service and a loving rebuke to their pride. While they were seeking position and personal advancement, Jesus, the Lord of heaven and the creator of earth, knelt before them and performed the task of a servant. In doing so, he showed them that true greatness is not found in being served, but in humbly serving others. For the true greatness is not found in position or recognition, but in humbly serving others, as Jesus.
Bring me all your feelings, even the ones you wish you didn't have. Fear and anxiety still plague you, and feelings per se are not sinful, but they can be temptations to sin. Blazing missiles of fear fly at you day and night, and these attacks from the evil one come at you relentlessly. Use your shield of faith to extinguish the flaming arrows. Affirm your trust in me regardless of how you feel. If you persist, your feelings will eventually fall in line with your faith. Do not hide from your fear or pretend it isn't there. Anxiety that you hide in the recesses of your heart will give birth to fear of fear. A monstrous stepchild. Bring your anxieties out into the light of my presence where we can deal with them together. Concentrate on trusting me, and fearfulness will gradually lose its foothold within you. Ephesians 6:16. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. 1 John 1:5-7. This is the message we have heard from him and declare to you. God is light. In him there is no darkness at all. If we claim to have fellowship with him, yet walk in the darkness, we lie and do not live by the truth. But if we walk in the light, as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus, his Son, purifies us from all sin. Isaiah 12:2. Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation.